Hi everyone, myself Anjita Aravind and today we are discussing about developmental biology. Now you all will think what is developmental biology. It is a study of the sequences of events from the fertilization of a secondary oocyte by the sperm cells to the formation of an adult organism, and it also includes the prenatal developmental stages. It is the time from the fertilization to birth and it is divided into mainly three periods, that is the trimesters, the first, second and the third trimester stages. And in this section we are focusing on the developmental sequences from the fertilization through implantation, embryonic and the fetal development. So shall we start the developmental process? The developmental process mainly include two periods, embryonic period and the fetal period. And the embryonic period, which is extended from the fertilization through the 8th week of the development. So you will think, what is fertilization? Fertilization is the merging of the genetic information from sperm and the secondary oocyte. So how this genetic material gets merged? We will discuss it. That is, the sperm which swims from the vagina into the cervical canal by the movements of their tails, that is just like a flagella, and the passage of sperm through the rest of the uterus and then into the uterine tubes results many of the contraction of the walls of their organs. And the prostaglandins in the stamens are believed to stimulate the uterine motility and to aid in the movement of the sperm through the uterus into the uterine tubes. And during this time, in the female reproductive tract, mostly in the uterine tube, the sperms will undergo capacitation. It is a series of functional changes that causes the sperm's tail to beat even more vigorously and prepare its plasma membrane to fuse with the oocyte plasma membrane. So the capacitation of the sperm will happen during this time. And for fertilization to occur, a sperm cells must penetrate to the layers, that is the layer of corona radiata and the granulosa cells and also the zona pellucida. These are the layers of an ovum, secondary oocyte. So for the fertilization of an egg, a sperm must penetrate the corona radiata, zona pellucida layers. Here we can see the path of the sperm cells. For the fertilization to occur, a sperm cells first must penetrate the two layers, that is the corona radiata and the zona pellucida layers. And the acrosome, it is a helmet-like structure that covers the head of the sperm. It contains several enzymes. It is known as the acrosomal enzymes, and the strong movement of the tails by the sperms help in the penetrating the cells of the corona radiata and come in contact with the zona pellucida layer. And the zona pellucida layer, which contain one glycoprotein, and it is known as the ZP3. It acts as a sperm receptors. And the acrosomal enzyme digests the path through the zona pellucida as a lashing sperm tail pushes the sperm cells onwards. So these are the changes which will happening during the penetration of a sperm cells into the secondary oocyte. So first the sperm cells will cross the corona radiata layer, then it move to the zona pellucida and plasma membrane of the secondary oocyte, then into the cytoplasm of the secondary oocyte for the fertilization process. Once the sperm cells enter a secondary oocyte, the oocyte first must complete its meiosis too, and it divided into a larger ovum and a smaller second polar body. And the nucleus in the head of the sperm develop into a male pronucleus, and the nucleus of the fertilized ovum develop into a female pronucleus. After the male and female pronuclei forms, they fuse together and producing a single diploid nucleus, and this process is known as the syngamy. And the fusion of the haploid pronuclei restores the diploid number, that is the 2n of the 46 chromosomes. Thus, the fertilized ovum, now it is called the zygote, and here we can see the male and the female pronuclei formation. So next, in the embryonic period, we have the cleavage of the zygote and the blastocyst formation, and here we are discussing the cleavage of the zygote. After fertilization, a rapid mitotic cell divisions of the zygote called the cleavage will take place, and the first division of the zygote begins after 24 hours after the fertilization, and it is completed about 6 hours later. And by the second day after the fertilization process, the second cleavage is completed and there are 4 cells, and by the end of the third day there are 16 cells are present, and progressively smaller cells produced by cleavage are called the blastomeres, and successive cleavage eventually produces a solid spheres of cells called the morula. and the morula is still surrounded by the zona pellucida, and it is about same size as the original zygote. So this is the cleavage process occurs in the zygote. Next, the blastocyte formation will happens. And here we can see the blastocyte formation. By the end of the fourth day, the number of cells in the morula increases, and it continues to move from the fallopian tube towards the uterine cavity. And on the 4th or 5th day, it reaches the uterine cavity, and a glycogen-rich secretion from the glands of the endometrium of uterus passes into the uterine cavity and enter the morula through the zona pellucida layer. And this fluid is called the uterine milk, and it provides the nourishment for the developing morula. And at the 32 cell stage, the fluid entering the morula, which will collect between the blastomeres and reorganize them around a large fluid filled cavity, and it is called the blastocyst cavity. And once it is formed, the developing mass is called the blastocyst. That is, now it has hundreds of cells. During the formation of the blastocysts, two distinct cell populations are arising, and it is known as the embryoblast and the trophoblast. The embryoblast, otherwise known as inner cell mass, it is located internally and eventually develops into an embryo, and the trophoblast is the outer spherical layer of cells that form a sphere-like wall of the blastocytes. It will ultimately develop into outer chorionic sac and surround the fetus and the fetal portion of the placenta. It is the site of exchange of nutrients and waste between the mother and the fetus. So these are the changes happening in the blastocyte formation stage. And in this picture we can see the cleavage and the formation of the morula and blastocytes. We already said that after fertilization, rapid mitotic cell divisions of the zygote is occurs, and it is known as cleavage. And the first division of the zygote begins about 24 hours after fertilization and is completed about 6 hours later. And the second day after fertilization, the second cleavage is completed, and there are 4 cells, and we can see it on the image. That is, on the second day the 4 cell stage is occurs, and by the end of the third day there are 16 cells and progressively smaller cells produced by the cleavage, and it is known as the blastomeres. That is, the cells which is produced by the cleavage process is known as the blastomeres, and successive cleavage eventually produces a solid sphere of cells, and it is called the morula. So on the day 4 we can see the morula stage, that is a solid sphere of cells. It is known as the morula, and the morula is cell which is surrounded by the zona pellucida, and it is about the same size of the original zygote. And the morula on the day 5, it is converted into the blastocytes, and here we can see the external and internal view of the blastocytes also. So after the blastocyte formation, next step is the implantation process. The blastocytes remain free within the uterine cavity for about 2 days before it attaches to the uterine wall. After 6 days fertilization, the blastocytes loosely attaches to the endometrium, and this process is known as the implantation. And about 7 days after the fertilization process, the blastocyte attaches to the endometrium more firmly, and endometrial glands in the vicinity layers enlarges, and the endometrium becomes more vascularized. The blastocytes eventually secrete enzymes and burrows into the endometrium and become surrounded by it. And in this picture we can see the frontal section through the endometrium of uterus and the blastocytes about 6 days after the fertilization process. And here we can see the blastocyst cavity, which contain the cell populations, that is the embryoblast and the trophoblast, that is the inner cell mass and the outermost covering. So now the implantation process is over. After implantation, the endometrium is called decidua. The decidua separate from the endometrium after the fetus is delivered, and the decidua has different region named based on their positions related to the site of the implanted blastocytes. In the picture we can see the 3 layers of the decidua: decidua basalis, decidua capsularis and decidua parietalis. And now we will see the functions of these 3 layers. The first one is the decidua basalis. It is a portion of the endometrium between the embryo and the stratum basalis of the uterus, and it provides large amount of glycogen and lipid for the developing embryo and fetus. And decidua capsularis, it is a portion of the endometrium located between embryo and the uterine cavity. And decidua parietalis, It is the remaining modified endometrium that line the non-involved areas of rest of the uterus. As the embryo and later the fetus enlarges, the decidua capsularis bulges into the uterine cavity and fuses with the decidua parietalis. But about the 27 week, the decidua capsularis degenerate and disappears. So these are the three main layers of the decidua and its functions. Here I added the image which will show the summary of events associated with the first week of developmental stages. And in this picture we can see the ovary which is ovulated, and the fertilization process occurs within the uterine tubes 12 to 24 hours after the ovulation, and the second stage cleavage will occur. The first cleavage completed about 13 hours after the fertilization process, and it will form into a morula 3 to 4 days after the fertilization, and the morula will reaches the uterine cavity as the form of a blastocyte, and 4.5 to 5 days after the fertilization it will form into a blastocyte, and the blastocytes will implant into the uterine cavity, and the implantation occurs 6 days after the fertilization process. So these are the main events associated with the first week of the embryonic development, and next we will discuss about the second week development. So here we are starting the second week of development. About 8 days after implantation, the trophoblast develop into syncytotrophoblast and the cytotrophoblast. In this picture we can see that the trophoblast which will develop into the cytotrophoblast and syncytotrophoblast, and the cells of the embryoblast also differentiate into two layers around the 8 days after the fertilization process. The hypoblast, that is the primitive endoderm, and the epiblast, that is the primitive ectoderm. And the cells of the hypoblast and epiblast together form a flat disc referred to as the bilaminar embryonic disc, and a small cavity appears within the epiblast and eventually enlarges to form the amniotic cavity. So this is the starting of the second week development, and next the development of amnion will happens in the second week development. As the amniotic cavity enlarges, a single layer of the squamous cells form a dome-like roof above the epiblast cells, and it is called as the amnion. The amnion form the roof of the amniotic cavity, and the epiblast form the floor. And the amnion eventually surround the entire embryo and creating an amniotic cavity, and that become filled with the amniotic fluid. Most amniotic fluid is initially derived from the maternal blood. Later, the fetus contributes to the fluid by excreting urine into the amniotic cavity. So this is the development of amnion in the second week, and next is the development of the yolk sac. On the eighth day after the fertilization, the cells at the edge of the hypoblast migrate and cover the inner surface of the blastocyte cells, and then form into a thin membrane referred to as the exoceliomic membrane. And together with the hypoblast, the exoceliomic membrane form the wall of the yolk sac. So it is the development of the yolk sac which is happened in the second week also. And next, the development of the sinusoid will happen. On the 9th day after the fertilization, the blastocytes become completely embedded in the endometrium as the syncytotrophoblast expands this space called the lacunae, and the lacunae development happens within it. And development of the extra embryonic chorion. About the 12th day after the fertilization, the extra embryonic mesoderm develops, and these mesodermal cells are derived from the yolk sac and from the connective tissue layers. And by the 12th day, they fuse to form a lacunar network. And in this picture, we can see that the blastocytes about 9 and 12 days after the fertilization, and the changes happening during the second week of the development process. We already said that about the 12th day after the fertilization, the extra embryonic mesoderm will develop, and the cells forms from the connective tissue layer around the amnion and yolk sac, and large cavities will develop that fuse and forms the extra embryonic serum. And the extra embryonic mesoderm together with the two layers of the trophoblast, that is the cytotrophoblast and syncytotrophoblast, forms the chorion, and the chorion surrounds the embryo and later the fetus, and eventually it becomes the principal embryonic part of the placenta, the structure for the exchange of material between the mother and the fetus. And the chorion also protects the embryos and fetus from the immune responses of the mother in two ways mainly, that is, it secretes protein that block the antibody production by the mother, and also it promote the production of the T lymphocytes that suppress the normal immune responses in the fetus. Finally, the chorion produces human chorionic gonadotropin, that is HCG. It is an important hormone during the pregnancy. So this is the second week development happening in an embryo. And now starting the third week of development. The third embryonic week begins a 6-week period of very rapid development and differentiation. During the third week, the 3 primary germ layers are formed. And the first major event of the third week development is gastrulation process, and this occurs about 15 days after the fertilization process. And in this process, the bilaminar, that is the 2-layered embryonic disc, transform into a trilaminar, that is 3-layered embryonic disc, and consisting of 3 primary germ layers, that is the ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. And the primary germ layer are the major embryonic tissues from which the various tissues and organs of the body are developed. And the first evidence of the gastrulation is the formation of primitive streak. And the primitive streak clearly establishes the head and tail end of the embryo as well as its right and left sides. And following the formation of the primitive streaks, cells of the epiblast move inward below the primitive streaks and detach from the epiblast, and the process is known as the invagination. And following to the invagination process, the 3 germ layers will start to form, that is the endoderm, mesoderm and ectoderm will start to form after the invagination process. And in the picture we can clearly see the primitive streak and the trilaminar embryonic disc also. Here I added an image about 16 days after fertilization, and in the head end we can see that the noctochondral process, that is about 16 days after fertilization, the mesodermal cells form the primitive knot, migrate towards the head end of the embryo, and a hollow tube of cells in the midline, it is called the noctochondral process. And by days 22 to 24, the noctochondral process become a solid cylindrical of cells, and it is called the noctochord. And this structure plays an extremely important role in the induction process. Induction process means by which a tissue, that is one tissue, that is inducing tissue, it will stimulate the development of an adjacent unspecified tissue, that is a responding tissue, into a specialized one. And inducing tissue usually produces a chemical substance and that influences the responding tissue, and the noctochord induces certain mesodermal cells to develop into a vertebral bodies, and it also forms the nucleus pulposus of the vertebral disc. And here we can see the noctochondral process on the head end region, and the neural plate and the primitive node and the primitive streak, and head end and tail end is specifically noted here. Also during the third week of development, the following structures will form, that is the oropharyngeal membrane, cloacal membrane and the allantois. The oropharyngeal membrane, it breaks down during the 4th week to connect the mouth cavity into the pharynx and the remainder of the gastrointestinal tract. And the structure closer to the tail end is called the cloacal membrane, and which degenerate in the 7th week to form the openings of the anus and urinary and the reproductive tract. And when the cloacal membrane appears, the wall of the yolk sac form a small vascularized outpouching, and it is called the allantosis, and that extend into the connecting stalk also. And in addition into the inducing mesodermal cells to develop into the vertebral bodies, the noctochord also induces ectodermal cells over it to the form neural plate also. And by the end of the 3rd week, the lateral edges of the neural plate become more elevated and form the neural fold, and the depressed mid region is called the neural groove, and generally the neural fold approaches each other and fuse together, and thus converting the neural plate into a neural tube. And this occurs first near the midline of the embryo and then progresses towards the head and tail ends, and the neural tube cells then develop into the brain and spinal cord. So the neural tube will finally form into the brain and spinal cord, and the process by which the neural plate, neural fold and the neural tube form is called the neurulation. as the neural tube forms, and some of the ectodermal cells from the tube migrate to form several layers of cells called the neural crust. And at about the 4th week after fertilization, the head end of the neural tube develop into 3 enlarged areas called the primary brain vesicles, that is the proencephalon, mesencephalon and the rhombencephalon. And at about the 5th week, the proencephalon develop into secondary brain vesicle, and it is called the telencephalon and diencephalons, and the rhombencephalon develop into secondary brain vesicles called the metencephalon and mealencephalons, and the area of the neural tube adjacent to the mealencephalon develop into the spinal cord. And here I added 3 to 4 week and 7 week embryo showing the primary and the secondary brain vesicles. And the first picture we can see the primary brain vesicles, that is the proencephalon, mesencephalon and the rhombencephalon, that is the forebrain, midbrain and the hindbrain regions. And on the 7th week, the embryo is showing the secondary brain vesicles, that is the proencephalons. On the 5th week, they develop into the secondary brain vesicle, that is the telencephalon and diencephalon, and the rhombencephalon develop into the secondary brain vesicles such as the metencephalon and the mealencephalons. And the mealencephalons, the neural tube in the mealencephalon region, which will develop into the spinal cord region. So now we are at the 3rd week of development, and by about the 17th day after fertilization, the mesoderm adjacent to the notochord and the neural tube forms paired longitudinal columns of paraxial mesoderms, and the paraxial mesoderms soon segments into a series of paired cube-shaped structures, and it is called somites. Somites means little bodies, and by the end of the 5th week, 40 to 44 pairs of somites are present, and the number of somites that develop over a given period can be correlated to the approximate age of an embryo, and each somites differentiate into 3 regions, that is the myotomes, dermatomes and sclerotomes. And the myotomes develops into skeletal muscles of the neck, trunk and limbs, and the dermatomes form the connective tissues including the dermis of the skin, and the sclerotomes give rise to the vertebrae and ribs. And at the beginning of the 3rd week, the angiogenesis, that is the formation of the blood vessels, begins in the extraembryonic mesoderm, in the yolk sac, connecting stalk and the chorion. And the heart forms from the mesoderm in the head end of the embryo on the 18th and 19th days, and this region of mesodermal cells are called the cardiogenic area, that is the heart producing area, and in response to induction signals from the underlying endoderm, and these mesodermal cells form a pair of the endocardial tubes, and these tubes then fuse to form a single primitive heart tube. And by the end of the 3rd week, the primitive heart tubes bends on itself, and it will form an S-shaped curve, and it begins to beat itself. So this is the embryonic period on the 3rd week developmental stage. Here I added the formation of a primitive cardiovascular system. We already said that the heart forms from the mesoderm in the head end of the embryo on the days 18th or 19th. And this region of the mesodermal cells are called the cardiogenic area. We can see it in the first image, that is the cardiogenic area around the neural plate. And in response to the induction signals from the underlying endoderm, the mesodermal cells form a pair of the endocardial tubes. On the second picture, we can see the formation of the endocardial tubes, and these tubes then fuse to form a single primitive heart tubes. And by the end of the 3rd week, the primitive heart tubes bend on itself and it form an S-shaped. In the 24th days, we can see it form an S-shaped curve, and it begin to beat, and then it joins the blood vessels in other parts of the embryo and connecting stalks, chorion and the yolk sac to form a primitive cardiovascular system. So from the 19th day to the 24th day, we can see the development of a primitive cardiovascular system. And here we can see the development of the chorionic villi as the embryonic tissue inverts, the uterine walls, the maternal uterine vessels are eroded, and the maternal blood filled spaces are called the lacunae. And within the inverting tissues, the lacunae are present. And by the end of the second week of development, the chorionic villi begin to develop. And by the end of the third week, the blood capillary developing in the chorionic villi. And the blood vessels in the chorionic villi connect to the embryonic heart by a way of the umbilical arteries and the umbilical veins through the connective stalks, and which will eventually become the umbilical cords. And here in the picture we can clearly see the chorionic villi and the connecting stalk to the embryo, which is covered with an amniotic cavity, and we can see the vascular supply into the embryo about 21 days after the fertilization process. On the last stage of the third week development, the placentation occurs. That is, placentation is a process of forming the placenta, and it is a site of exchange of the nutrients and waste between the mother and the fetus. And the placenta also produces the hormones needed to sustain the pregnancy. And the placenta is unique because it developed from two separate individuals, that is from the mother and the fetus. So it is a unique. And by the beginning of the 12th week, the placenta has two distinct parts, that is the fetal portion formed from the chorionic villi of the chorion, and the maternal portion formed by the residua basalis of the endometrium. And when fully developed, the placenta is shaped like a pancake, and functionally the placenta allows the oxygen and nutrient to diffuse from the maternal blood to the fetal blood, and carbon dioxide and waste diffuses from the fetal blood into the maternal blood. And the placenta also, it is a protective barrier because most of the microorganisms cannot pass through it, but certain viruses such as those causes AIDS, German measles, chickenpox, measles and poliomyelitis can cross the placenta, and many drugs such as alcohol and some substances that can cause birth defects also pass freely through the placenta. And the placenta can store the nutrients such as carbohydrate, proteins, calcium and iron, and which are released into the fetal circulation as required. So on the third week development, the placentation will occur. So now we are starting the fourth week of development. The fourth to eighth week of development is very significant in the embryonic development because all major organs are appeared during this time, and the term organogenesis is refers to the formation of the body, organs and systems. And during the fourth week after fertilization, the embryo undergo very dramatic changes in shape and size, and nearly tripling its size, and it is essentially converted from a flat two-dimensional trilaminar embryonic disc to a three-dimensional cylindrical, and the process is called the embryonic folding. And folding in the median plane produces a head fold and a tail fold, and folding in the horizontal plane results in two lateral folds, and overall due to the foldings the embryo curves into a C shape. So now the embryo is in a C-shaped curve, and the head folding brings the developing heart and mouth into their eventual adult positions, and the tail folding brings the developing anus into its adult position, and the lateral fold form as a lateral margin of the trilaminar embryonic disc and bent ventrically. And as they move towards the midline, the lateral folds incorporate the dorsal plate and the yolk sac into the embryo as a primitive gut. And on the outside of the embryo is a smaller cavity, and it is called the tail region, and this tail region is called the proctodeum. Procto means the anus. So this outside region of the embryo is the anus region. So these are the changes which will occur on the fourth week of development, and mainly the organogenesis will occur on the fourth week. On the fourth week of development, in addition to the embryonic folding, development of somites and development of the neural tube, 5 pairs of pharyngeal or the branchial arches begin to develop on each side of the future head and the neck regions during the fourth week also, and on the ectodermal surface of the pharyngeal region. Each pharyngeal arch is separated by a groove, and it is known as the pharyngeal cleft, and the pharyngeal cleft meet corresponding balloon-like outer growth of the ectodermal pharyngeal lining, and it is known as the pharyngeal pouches. And here I added the image, and in this it is an 28-day embryo, and in this image we can see the pharyngeal pouches and the pharyngeal arches clearly. So by the middle of the 4th week development, the upper limbs begin their development as outer growth of mesoderm, which is covered by an ectoderm, and it is called the upper limb buds. And by the end of the 4th week, the lower limb buds also develop, and the heart also forms a distinct projection on the ventral surface of the embryo, and it is called the heart prominence. And at the end of the 4th week, the embryo has a distinctive tail region also. And in the first picture we can see the 4th week embryo, and in this picture we can see the upper limb bud and the lower limb buds, also the liver and the heart prominence is there, and a smaller tail region is there. And during the 5th week of development, there is a very rapid development of the brain, so growth of the head is considerable. By the end of the 6th week, the head grows even larger relative to the trunk region, and the limbs shows substantial development. So on the 6th week embryo we can see the hand plate and the foot plate development, and by the 7th week the various region of the limbs become distinct and the beginning of the digits appear. And at the starting of the 8th week, so it is the final week of the embryonic period, the digits of the hands are short and webbed, and the tail is shortened but still it visible, and the eyes are open, and the auricles of the ears are visible in the starting of the 8th week. And by end of the 8th week, all regions of the limbs are apparent, and the digits are distinct and no longer webbed due to removal of the cells via apoptosis, and also the eyelids come together and may fuse, and the tail disappears, and the external genitalis begin to differentiate, and the embryo now has a clearly human characteristics at the end of the 8th week. So here we can see the final week of the embryonic period. As I already said that by the 7th week, the various region of the limbs become distinct, and it begins beginning of the digits appear. And in the first picture we can see a 7-week embryo which showing the development of the arm, forearm and arm in the free upper limb buds, and the thighs, leg and the foot in the free lower limb buds. And when we considering the 8th week, by the end of the 8th week, all regions of the limbs are apparent, and the digits are distinct and no longer webbed due to the removal of the cells via the apoptosis, and also the eyelids come together and may fused, and the tail disappears, and the external genitalis begin to differentiate, and the embryo now has a clearly human characteristic. So in the second picture we can see the 8-week embryo, and in which free limb buds have developed into free upper and lower limbs, and the eyelids are fused. So these are the changes happening in the embryonic period. After the embryonic period, there is the fetal period, and the fetal period begins at the 9th week after fertilization until birth, and tissues and organs that developed during the embryonic period grow and differentiate during the fetal period, and a very few new structures appear during this period. And here I added the summary of the developmental events of the embryonic and the fetal periods. And the development during the fetal period is mostly concerned with the growth and differentiation of tissues and organs formed during the embryonic period. So this is the fetal period. So this all about the developmental biology. Thank you all for your kind attention.